Hey everyone, we're going to be making homemade old-fashioned cheese biscuits for y'all today. Our ingredients are Southern Biscuit self-rising flour right here. We're going to be using sour cream instead of buttermilk. We don't use buttermilk in the house, but sour cream is pretty close to buttermilk. We're going to be using extra sharp cheddar cheese. If you want a really good tasting cheese biscuit, I'm talking about far as cheese flavor, if you use the extra sharp, it gives you a whole lot more flavor instead of using the mild, medium, or whatever you other kinds there is. And we're using Blue Bonnet butter, or it's not really butter, I don't think, but we're using Blue Bonnet. Okay, y'all, we're going to cut this here cheese up for our biscuits. We're going to do probably about 1-inch squares on it. That's about like that right there. Probably going to do close to maybe 10 cheese biscuits, somewhere around that number. If your cheese don't get exactly cut perfect, it doesn't matter. It's going to be good as long as you ain't got no little skimpy amount of cheese. So that right there, 3 slices like right there, is like 9 biscuits. So we'll go over. We're going to have a few extra cheese chunks, but we'll take care of those in the background. So after we do that, we'll flip these over and we'll cut these in thirds, somewhere around thirds, something like that. So you got a good chunk of cheese in each biscuit. So it's about like that. Like that. You get the idea. If you got your daughter or your grandkids making biscuits with you, you can let them show them how to make a cheese pyramid while you're making them. It makes it fun for the kid. You want to prep stuff like this ahead of time, like cutting the cheese. And I'm basically going through this so I can tell the ones that don't know how to make biscuits. As far as cutting the cheese and getting the pan ready for the biscuits to go into. This is old-fashioned. This is bacon grease. You can put butter in your pan. You can do bacon grease, oil, whatever you want. Bacon grease gives another hint of flavor. On the flavor profile, as far as cooking the biscuits, it throws that little hint of bacon taste on the biscuit. If you do this here and put the bacon grease on top of the biscuit also with the brush, just like I just did. People brush butter on top of biscuits, but this is what makes it old-fashioned, sure enough good. Okay, next, y'all, we're gonna put 2 cups of flour in this measuring cup here, and this will be the amount of flour we use besides what I add. There's my dipper cup right there. Forgot about that. Y'all know us see that. But anyhow, we'll add 2 cups of flour to this measuring bowl. All right, and it don't got to be perfect. If you go over a 1/4 cup or under a little bit, it's fine. But two cups of flour, and then we're going to do about probably about 10 ounces of sour cream. I'm only doing these measurements because I'm doing this for y'all. Usually I just dump stuff in and make it the old-fashioned way. I used to get so upset when I would ask older people. I'd say, how do you make so-and-so? And they say, oh, you just put a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And that would frustrate me so bad. And I say, well, what's the measurements? And they look at me and say, I don't know. I don't never measure it. And that was really hard for me. And now I do the same thing because I've done it so much that it's that simple. So we got 2 cups of flour, 8 ounces of sour cream. We have a stick of butter. I put it in the microwave for 5 seconds, just like this, and it softens a little bit. I know a whole lot of people on YouTube say keep your butter real cold and all, but this ain't real butter. I think it's the artificial stuff, but you can use real butter too. But I don't have mine refrigerator cold because when you're cutting it into the flour, it's harder to cut into it. So 1 stick of butter, 2 cups of flour, around 10 ounces of sour cream. Okay, y'all, here's the next step. We're going to add the flour to our bowl, to our mixing bowl, 2 cups. Then we're going to add our butter. You can cut it up in small chunks. If you want to just drop it in there in small chunks, you can. I'm going to show you the way my mom showed me how to make these biscuits. The way she told me. You take a fork. I'm having a hard time right now. And you cut your butter in to your flour like this. And you cut it into the flour. And this is the way she taught me as far as cutting it in. And you just keep cutting it into the flour and pushing it into new flour. And it'll get cut up in little bitty pieces. And this is what you do if you don't have one of these, I call them fancy highfalutin thingies. This was my mom's also. Unless she did it without me seeing it, I never saw her use it, but this is the easiest way to cut the butter into the flour. You just cut it in like this. And it cuts it into little bitty pieces. And that's what you want, because when you cut this butter into this flour, it's going to give little specks of butter all throughout the biscuit. So you're going to have that flavor. My mama used to use Crisco in her biscuits. Old fashioned, you know, people used to use lard. And that's delicious too. And I've even made biscuits with just bacon grease for the actual grease content of the flour. I've used bacon grease, and I just dribbled it in there and cut it in. But this is the butter right here. This is like so good. All right, that's chopped in right there. Really, I could have stopped a minute ago, but that's the butter cut into the flour right there. I'm kind of getting y'all off the video a little bit, ain't I? Then after this step here, after you cut your butter into your flour, you add your sour cream. And like I said, the sour cream takes the place of buttermilk. We don't drink buttermilk. We don't cook with buttermilk, but we use sour cream for chili beans, tacos, eat it with a spoon, use it for dessert preparation, all kinds of different little stuff. But then you take this sour cream here and you just stir it in just like this. You stir the sour cream in, and you see the flour and stuff is binding to the sour cream. It's all connecting. And if y'all could smell this right now, you would smell the butter and the sour cream, all this stuff binding together. It smells so good, and it ain't even cooked yet. All right, and you see you got some dry stuff in the bottom there, but the dough is pretty done near got sticky, so it's about ready to just knead together. So we'll show y'all that step. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna show y'all the kneading process now. The first thing you want to do is take some flour. You want to keep your hands floured, and you want your dough to have flour on it, because it'll stick to your hands real bad if you don't. I know there's probably people out there that's got easier ways of doing this, but this is how my mama taught me. A while ago when I was trying to do that butter, I started talking about my mama. I was having a little bit of a hard time because I lost my mama probably about 4 years ago. And this here is something she taught me, and just thinking about her kind of breaks me up. But there ain't nobody hardly no more special than your mama, so if y'all still got them, y'all cherish them. But this is how she taught me. You don't gotta need this stuff much. She told me that if you need it too much, it's gonna get when you cook your biscuits, it's gonna be hard as a brick. So we ain't gonna do this much here. We're gonna call it. I'm gonna do this a little bit different than what I usually do it because I want to show y'all far as portion sizes, because I know y'all are going to want to know how to do it if you don't already know how to make biscuits. But say we're going to make 10 biscuits, and you just put flour on your hands and do accordingly. I'm not going to cut these biscuits out, y'all. I'm not doing this so I can cut them out. I'm just going to do this so I can make a portion for the cheese biscuit. Okay, y'all, I use my Blackstone scraper to cut this dough so I could have around the correct amount for each cheese biscuit. I've already made one off video, but I'm getting ready to show y'all now. You just take the dough, you smush it out like this. This is not a hard thing. You just put it in your hand, and you take your piece of cheese and you put it in the middle, and you just bring your biscuit around. If your hands get sticky, you don't want to get too much flour where the biscuit seams back together at, because it won't stick good. But then you keep a little flour on your hand so your biscuit don't stick to you. Okay, and there's your perfect cheese biscuit. You always put your part that you seam together on the bottom of the pan. You put that on the bottom, so your seam's on the bottom. Because when you start cooking, it'll kind of toast the cheese if it starts melting out. And you're going to have some cheese melt out, because that's just what they do, because you can't seal them perfect, because we're not in a perfect world and we're not perfect people. We just got to strive to be that way. But like I said, this is how you put your hunk of cheese in there. I know other videos show they say, oh, you got to use shredded cheese. Shredded cheese melts better. I want to tell y'all, that's all a bunch of hogwash. This cheese melts perfect inside of this biscuit while you're cooking. Your oven is going to cook different than my oven, because I have an old gas stove. My gas stove actually has pilot light on it. There's another perfect cheese biscuit. And if you make these, you put them close together. There we go. You put them close together like that, because it helps the cheese from running all out too. So y'all got the idea. I'll get back with you. All right, y'all, I thought I'd bring you back and just let you see this last biscuit. I'm getting ready to put the last one in the pan. All it is just closing the seam up, wrapping the dough around the biscuit. And this ended up being 9 biscuits, just to cut for the amount of dough I had. So there's the biscuit. Okay, y'all, this here is right before we put them in the oven. Going back to this bacon grease, we're gonna brush this bacon grease onto the top of the biscuit, just like people do butter. But like when you put this biscuit in your mouth and bite it, you're gonna have a hint of that bacon flavor, and it is like so phenomenal. I know butter's good. Butter is top shelf. I know everybody uses butter, but this is a blast from the past, if you want to say it like that, ever how you say it. But this puts the delicious into it, sure enough. And like I was talking about a while ago, the oven cooking. See, my oven is an old gas oven, and it's like we bake cakes, pies, biscuits, all of it on 300 degrees. And most people's ovens wouldn't even cook nothing hardly at 300 degrees unless you're cooking slow roasted pork or something other. But you know, some electric ovens are 350, and I hear people talking about cooking 450 and 475. I would burn my biscuits up if we did it in this oven at that temperature. So we'll get back with y'all. We're getting ready to put them in the oven. Okay, y'all, they're going in the oven. We're going to probably go for about 17 to 20 minutes by the way we do it. And if y'all if you could like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, all that good stuff, if you could, we'd sure appreciate it. And we hope you're enjoying this video, and we'll be back with you to show you the end results. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna take these biscuits out of the oven. I'm gonna put them in a broiler. Like a lot of the new ovens nowadays had the boiler built in to the oven itself. This is an older gas stove, and the broiler is actually in the bottom drawer, and I'll show you how this is done. We got to get some more thickness here, y'all. That ain't thick enough. All right, that's what the beauty's looking like right now. All right, this is your broiler on old gas stoves. Put your biscuits down here, and you shut it. And you can only leave it in there. You can only leave those biscuits in that broiler for probably maybe a minute and a half. Because if you leave them in there longer than that, they're not going to be brown. They're going to be burnt. But this is how you go ahead and brown the top of the biscuits. So I'm just showing you real time. Y'all saw how light they were just in. So now we'll take a peek. We'll take a peek. See how golden brown they are now, y'all? We'll bring them up and let you see them. See the perfect brownness on top? We'll be back. And this is what they look like, y'all. We're going to break one open for y'all too.